ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। So we are meeting after a long time. In fact, this Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan class, all of you know that we meet on the first and third Saturday of every month, unless we are otherwise engaged. Uh, but we could not, for some reason, during winter, could not come here often, and now we have almost finalize the timings. 4 to 5 is the most convenient time, especially for people who would like to come and attend in person. But for online people, any time is fine. Even 7 was fine. But now, since our other classes, say the Sunday class, and as and when we start the Tuesday and Thursday again, right now we are focusing only on the Saturday and Sunday classes, because we now, since the very purpose of starting this online was that because of COVID restrictions people could not come, but now we have decided, especially after the birthday celebrations of Sri Ramakrishna, which we will be organizing on the 25th Saturday of this month, we are planning to have at least one or maybe two sessions either on Saturday or Sunday, preferably Sunday, in Vedanta Centre, which would be named as Japa Yagna. Yagna means a sacrifice. We do various kinds of sacrifices. We do Homa, Havana as part of our ritual worship, and we have discussed this topic in Vedanta as the science of human possibility, that even the work that we do, the profession that we pursue, can be converted or should be converted into a sort of sacrifice. In fact, a great sacrifice, as Swamiji says in his Jnana Yoga, a great sacrifice is going on. Only thing, we are not willingly participating in that. We think we are forced to sacrifice by nature. It's a sacrifice. What is the meaning of yajna or sacrifice? Sacrifice implies that you have to give up something in return for what you get from nature. Nature gives us so many things. Ishvara, or the immanent aspect of God, if we believe in that, or whether we believe in that or not, we should believe that nature gives us many things unasked. We get so many things from nature. So it is our duty to return something back. Otherwise, as Gita says, one is actually performing a theft. One is a stena, or a person who is robbing things and acquiring things from nature but not giving anything back. So the concept of yagna, or the cosmic, it has come from the Vedic idea of rhythm, which is a cosmic order where it is just give and take. If you see the plant kingdom or the animal kingdom, they are perfect in the sense everything is going on in cycles, everything is moving in cycles, and at the same time there is the spirit of cosmic worship going on. Somebody has to sacrifice uh, the rain that falls, then the tree grows, and because it gets so much of nourishment from the soil and water, it gives in return, it gives some fruits or something or the other. It contributes something to the environment, it contributes something to prakriti. So this idea was developed in the Vedas as the cosmic order, and as long as you don't break the cosmic order, man will be at peace. Only when greed started, I mean, the spirit of greed or acquisition, became predominant in human beings, they try to acquire more than what they really deserved, what they have given back to society. And that caused all the evil. So if you say that Adam fell down and it became degraded, just the symbolic meaning of that, the fall of Adam, is that he disobeyed God's law, in the sense he disobeyed the cosmic order and refused to live in harmony. That is perhaps the real spirit behind the fall or the so called sin that we commit. So it's a sin against the planet, sin against nature, sin against ourselves. Our Vedanta goes a step far further and says all our problems are because of prajna aparadha, sin against our own consciousness. We are not only performing or committing sins against planet, which is obviously everybody can observe how we are exploiting nature for our own selfish purposes, but we are exploiting ourselves. We have, as a birthright, God has created us as pure spirits, and then we are considering ourselves as other than this pure spirit, which is Sachidananda, the existence, pure consciousness, and pure bliss. That is our true nature. We discussed all the first five things, or the sixth chapter also, or the sixth paragraph in our discussion was that human personality is a graded organization. So I'm just recapitulating what we discussed till now, that though we know that our real nature is pure, it's eternal existence, eternal consciousness, or eternal bliss or joy, when we are one with that spirit or that pure consciousness. And human beings have fallen from that state. In fact, animals and every creature who considers himself not as pure consciousness is in fact committing a sin. So if at all we have to believe in the concept of sin, the only sin is that man who is essentially pure, essentially of the nature of Sat Chit Ananda, considers himself to be limited, considers himself to be powerless, considers himself to be sad or happy, or tries to possess and accumulate things, and all these things are something which our real nature is not. So that is what is known as sin. And that is why our personality is a graded organization, in the sense we discussed that how at different levels of our existence we become more and more gross, starting with the physical body, which is the grossest aspect of our personality. We go higher, then we have the five koshas, which we have discussed. We will not repeat it again. I'm just recapitulating. So all the five koshas, it's a graded organization. Our psychophysical existence. I call it psychophysical because everything about us is not physical. In fact, even the other animals and other creatures, living beings, they are also not uh, purely physical characters. They have a psyche or they have a mind. So there is a subtle aspect of our personality which is known as mind. For convenience sake, Vedanta has classified into five layers, and that is why our personality is graded. It is known as a graded organization because if we are living only at the physical level, then we are not we are nothing better than stones and all the inanimate world. But since we are living at a slightly higher level, the pranic level, we call ourselves living beings. The power that uh, runs this physical body, or is responsible for all the different functions which separate us from the non-living. So living beings have a slightly higher level of existence with the prana, which is the life force which animates this physical body. So Annamaya Kosha, Pranamaya Kosha, then we have the Manomaya Kosha, the reactive mind, which is a very simple kind of mind. It's slightly finer than prana. It controls, since it controls both prana and the annamaya kosha. It is slightly subtler than, and following the spiritual laws which we discussed, the subtler the aspect of our personality, the more control it has over the more grosser ones. So the manomaya kosha influences the pranamaya kosha and the annamaya kosha. We discussed that. In that sense, we are a graded organization. And then some of the human beings, or most of the human beings, have another aspect which is known as Vijnanamaya Kosha, a level higher, more subtle, and more deterministic, in the sense it can determine, or it can choose, it can make choices, good choice or a bad choice, it can decide what is the goal of life, it can do many things other than a purely reactive mind which we share with animals. So when we come to the Vijnanamaya Kosha, the real spiritual life begins. We discussed that. So broadly speaking, we can live on these 5 levels, and finally the Anandamaya Kosha. But our real nature, according to Vedanta, and the highest human possibility is attained or reached when we transcend all these 5 levels of personality and identify ourselves with our real self. That is what we discussed till now. So, how do we do this? Now, till now, uh, a background was given of the nature of our personality, human personality, and depending on that, we explored the different possibilities that human possibilities that we can acquire or achieve. The first one, as I said, physical possibilities, physical strength, physical capacities, physical skills, aided with the prana. Of course, prana is required. Without the prana, you can't even coordinate the functions of your body, and no skill is possible. But even a rudimentary mind, the manomaya kosha, is required for acquiring skills. So most of us uh, think all our possibilities are explored or achieved when we have a very well developed mind, manomaya kosha, and everything is running in a wonderful with a wonderful coordination. So we call a highly skilled person a person with a lot of skill sets, wonderful control over his body, I mean health, which results in good health, right, with the help of right living. Right living means the proper use of the pranas. If you abuse the prana, then the body suffers. If you abuse the body, then they are interacting with each other. So taking into consideration a well developed personality at an intermediate level, which we call a very successful person, will be very successful at these 3 levels, and he explores all the possibilities. Develops his physical body, develops his pranic body, develops his mental body, manomaya kosha, and in ordinary terms, in popular terms, he is a very successful person because perhaps he gets a good job or does a good business, a good professional career. So those are the 3 possibilities with which a majority of humankind are happy. They're satisfied with that. Even that is a great achievement to achieve these skill sets, which will take care and which will lead to harmonious development of the annamaya kosha, pranamaya kosha, and the manomaya kosha. To do that, it very often it takes a whole lifetime. And for most people, we think that is the goal of life. But at a certain stage, when these things are achieved, mind you, our scriptures never said these things are not important. The strong body with a strong mind, they are essentials. Your spiritual life will not even begin before that. Then, when we explore, are there some other possibilities which we can explore? Is these exploring these 3 levels, you achieve a certain degree of success or so-called success in the material world, which is of course a great thing. Every person is not lucky enough to excel in all these 3 levels of personality and explore all these possibilities. It's not given to him. Maybe you are mentally very strong but physically very weak. Health wise, your health may suffer. So Upanishads speak of a person, especially the Kathopanishad, which is a wonderful book according to Swamiji. He says only the strong physically, strong mentally, can even think of exploring the higher levels of personality, because it requires tremendous courage. Spiritual life is not a joke. So, after attaining Pariksha Lokan, that is the word that is used in the Upanishads very often, having examined all the other lower possibilities. See, this is the difference between Vedanta and the other approaches to religion, which talk of developing only the spiritual side. But Vedas say no, you begin. Maybe in your evolutionary ladder, in the past lives, you have already explored and found the futility of a purely materialistic outlook in life. In that case, you may jump these steps and directly go to the spiritual, assuming that you have undergone that. But unless and until in the evolutionary ladder, according to the Vedas, you have to climb this ladder in a graded way. That's why, according to Vedas, there's no hurry. You have to take your own time and qualify to be fit for the next level, to graduate to the next level. So, assuming that either in this life or in the past life, you have reached the acme of perfection in the physical, the pranic level, and the mental level, and have thoroughly examined its limitations in giving you true fulfillment, then you come and try to explore a level which is known according to in Vedanta as the Vijnanamaya Kosha, which is popularly known as Buddhi, the level of Buddhi, as against skills that you develop. A mind with full of skills, mental skills, may not be full of wisdom. So intelligence is very often, intelligence as it is understood in the Western context, has nothing to do with the intelligence. Because of a better word, it is known as intelligence. Buddhi is not just intelligence. In many of the vernacular Indian languages, when you say he's a very buddhiman or a person with lot of buddhi, you normally mean a very skilled person, very logical, very rational, very mature. But that doesn't imply that the buddhiman person is in vernacular. In Sanskrit, buddhi means something specific, that he is full of wisdom. Now, what does that wisdom do? When that wisdom, that level, and that possibility opens to a human being, it is then that he starts questioning. He tries to examine, are there further levels that I need to explore? Are there other possibilities that I need to explore to lead a life of fulfillment? I have, of course, reached the highest level that could be attained either in this life or in the previous life. Some people are lucky because they would have reached that level in the previous life. That's why Swami Vivekananda once uh, just casually uttered this, and Nivedita recorded it, that only a king in the previous life can become a sannyasi. He would have explored the acme of physical uh, glory and examined everything, all the possibilities, and got all the power, all the money, all the enjoyment in the world. And then, if he is really disgusted, then he becomes a sannyasin in spirit. In spirit, it doesn't have to become a monk, but he becomes a sannyasin, he becomes a spiritual aspirant in spirit only if he has gone through these three levels. Otherwise, it is not possible. Of course, it is possible if we pass through these stages in this life. That is why most of our in the Vedic scheme of life, the ashramas were designed in such a way that after student you become a grahastha, then you become a vanaprastha, and then you take to sannyas. Sannyas was the last. So if you have not experienced that, then you better experience all these stages, finish it, and at least After a certain age, you withdraw, very, very gradually withdraw, that is vanaprastha, proceed towards the spirit, towards the higher two levels, which perhaps he would have missed out. But in the Vedic scheme, as it was practiced in the earlier days, even before the age of the Puranas and the Gita, they were very strict about it, that this Upanayana, where the Buddhi, development of Buddhi is to be cultivated, that possibility was explored at a very young age. I've repeated this many times because most of us have missed that bus. Though with this Upanayana, for Hindus especially, it has just been reduced to a ritual. And moreover, a ritual only for boys. I don't know, for some strange reason, girls were not allowed to do Upanayana. There's no rule, as Swamiji says, that there is no mention anywhere in the Vedas. Vedas are our scriptures. Maybe later texts, they might have prohibited women from doing that, but there's no reason why a woman should not be given the Gayatri Mantra. I'm coming to this again and again because this is an aspect which we have not realized, we have missed out. And the significance of Gayatri is that the fourth level of Vijnanamay Kosha, that Buddhi, has to be awakened, or at least the idea to awaken that has to be given at the age of between 6 and 8. They had that much foresight. Whether you develop it or not, whether you take the Gayatri Mantra seriously or not, that was the system. And through Upanayana, you were told, or the parents the father normally who gave, but if girls are there, even the mother can give because she would inherit it from her mother also. There's no such rule. I don't know why it became a male dominated ritual, which is unfortunate. But anyway, the idea was that without buddhi, a person cannot live. It's not that only men require discrimination, women also require. So this discrimination, this buddhi, the fourth level, which is developing the possibility of the Vijnanamaya Kosha. The name Vijnanamaya means Vijnana. Jnana means knowledge, which is the secular knowledge. Vijnana means specific knowledge. That means it teaches you how to use the knowledge that you have acquired. That may be translated roughly as wisdom. So in English, wisdom is used, but in a perhaps narrower sense than what buddhi really means. So wisdom with a conviction in the higher possibilities of life, which makes us take the right decision at the right time. Or you may say, in a very simple language, if you have to translate it, it is the power of making the right choice. The distinction between Shreya and Preya. As Kathopanishad said, there are many things in life which appear to be pleasant but are not good, but many things in life which are good but may not be very pleasant. So the tendency is to follow the least path of least resistance and go towards the Preya, not the Shreya. So again, to sum up the whole thing, the scheme of life was designed in such a way. That is why we have named this talk the science of human possibilities, because without exploring all the possibilities, we are not going to lead a life of total fulfillment. So anyway, whatever be the scheme of life, this idea that at a very young age, one has to be made aware, whether it's a boy or a girl, at the age of 8, by the age of 8, between 6 and 8, if he is told that there is a higher possibility, which you have to not only remember, but explore. As you grow older, when you are developing your physical possibility, the mental possibilities, the pranic possibilities, and you are developing yourself as a wonderful, successful human being, at the same time, parallelly, whether you follow a life of renunciation or not, even if you are a householder, you need this buddhi to keep that light burning, the inner light as they call it. So that is what is discussed here. How can we know that there is this higher possibilities? that there is some divine spark in us which we need to explore. And the earlier we begin, the better it is, because then there is a chance that before we really become old and our senses and body, everything becomes weak, our prana becomes weak. Definitely, as we age, things become weaker and weaker. And this uh, the higher possibility of which we have to explore. We read that verse, Mundaka Upanishad, Satyena labhyas tapasa hesha atma. After having described what this atma is, what is this divine spirit is, Satyena, by truth, the resplendent and pure Atman dwelling in the body, whom a person of strict discipline, tapas means strict discipline, free from all traces of iniquity, because there are these, you have to make a choice, as I said. The idea of Gayatri Mantra, idea of dhi is dhiyo yona prachodayata. Dhi means the buddhi. So unless the buddhi is developed, just intellect will, the mind will go in circles. It will tell you this is good, that is good. But finally, when it comes to choosing, we find that it is so difficult to make a good choice. Even a secular choice, to make a secular choice, what we should be doing, it is so difficult. Forget the spiritual aspect of it. Even to make a right secular choice, to make our lives happy, to choose a career which suits our nature, depending on our gunas, even that is a huge task. You need counselors, you need people to guide you. So then you can imagine, to take the right decision in life. A person like Nachiketa's father was a teacher to him. Even he made a wrong choice. And this young boy fortunately had that buddhi, or had that shraddha. So he tells his father, perhaps don't you think you are making a wrong choice? You are doing the wrong thing, because the scriptures are your guide. You have taught me scriptures, and what I have learned from you, on the basis of that, I am telling you, you are making a mistake. So he tries to correct, and you know the story. He scolds him. He said, "Do you think you are grown enough to teach me? You are my student, or you are my son." So you know the story. Then he goes to Yama. But his understanding, or his buddhi, or the shraddha which he had, made him think and make the right choice. When he goes to Yama, Yama asks him, tests him rather. Are you really want to know this secret? The secret of the soul, the secret of divinity. If that is the case, then let me test you. So he offers him many things which any worldly person would have immediately grabbed, because he said, I'll give you this, I'll give you that. But his discrimination was thanks to his Shraddha, thanks to the little awakening that he had as a result of his Shraddha, or faith, or conviction. He says, no, I'm consciously making this choice because I don't want anything less than immortality. If there is a thing known as immortal, if there is a life after death, then I want that. I don't want something which will last only for, say, 100 years. What is there beyond? So that quest to find out explore our higher possibility, to find out who we really are, says this Atman, which is Satyena Labhyas Tapasa Yesha Atma Samyak Jnanena Brahmacharyena Nityam Antah Sharire Jyotirmayo Hi Shubhro Yam Pashanti Yatayah Kshina Dosha. Now, there are so many conditions. To whom is this knowledge accessible? First is this Atman, which is resplendent, pure, which is dwelling in the body, our original self. And this is the highest possibility that we have to explore. Whether we can do it now or not, that is a different question. But the scripture is very clear. This is the highest possibility, and this is what you have to ultimately attain. So, how it is dwelling within the body? As Jesus said, the kingdom of God is within you. Don't have to go out and search for a God outside of you. He is within. If the whole concept of spirit, whatever be the religion that we belong to, everywhere the spirit is supreme, if it is a true religion. If it is a religion based on the divine divinity of a human being, whatever be the concept, whether you call it heaven, whether you call it Jannat, or there are so many terms used by different religions. But where is that heaven? If at all it is known as a heaven, everybody wants to know what that heaven is. That heaven, everybody invariably, if it is a true religion, a true prophet will always say it is within, because it is the center of our existence, the very basis of our existence. So, that existence which is within us, the whole kingdom of God lies within us. But unfortunately, we are trying to search for it outside. So, Kathopanishad says this and also tells us, this is Mundaka Upanishad, of course, verse number 5 and 6, which says it is dwelling in the body, or if you follow the concept of Ishvara, it says it not only dwells in the body, it controls the whole personality. Antaryami, antar means internal, yami means inner controller. So different religions have different ways of expressing. When they say it is the will of the Lord, what it means is the Lord who is all pervading. Whether you call him Allah, whether you call him the Father in heaven, they everyone, the divine or the divinity or the God whom you believe in controls everything, as it were, sitting in our hearts. So the heart center or the heart is a place which has been acknowledged as the seat of this consciousness in all cultures. Invariably, directly or indirectly, they will point out to the innermost core of a human being as the place where we have to realize that. Though we may follow different methods of prayers, meditation, and different ways of expressing that divinity may be there, but ultimately we have to realize him within the heart, whom dwelling in the body. That is why this Upanishad, Mundaka Upanishad, makes it very clear that the spirit dwells in the body, and a person of strict discipline, because why discipline is required? The real reason why discipline, tapas means discipline. Tapas literally means fire, but how fire is a result of the struggle, and when you rub to idea that without a struggle, without a conscious decision to look within, because we have been used to look without. That is the fundamental idea which Yama is telling Nachiketa in the Kathopanishad. We discussed that. Ki by nature, human beings are extroverts. So it's like putting a brake, and asking the car to reverse. It takes a lot of effort. First of all, you have to slow down the car, put on the brake, and then put the reverse gear. So here also, this whole struggle in spiritual life is trying to search for that truth within, because unanimously every scripture of the world says the kingdom of God is within you. Otherwise, we would have searched for him outside. There are so many poems, whether you take the different Sufi poets, take so many poetry directly or indirectly, they converge on one idea that the kingdom of God or the divinity that you are seeking is nowhere. You may begin with a prayer to that divinity outside. It is outside, it is all pervading, but you can find it in the innermost recesses of your heart. So that is the idea. So whom a person, and discipline means again and again forcing the attention or focusing the attention on the inside, because it's very natural to look outside. Nobody needs to teach a child to explore the wonders that he sees. That is the first possibility. When he grows, the child is naturally attracted by things that he sees around, and as he grows, that exploration also becomes so intense that he's fascinated by this. Nothing wrong in that. Our Vedas say there's nothing wrong. That's how you develop. But at some stage, you have to also think that there is another internal world which we have neglected. If you realize it at an early age, then you start both the journeys together. Otherwise, you have to do it when you realize it, when you grow up, and then that period or that effort, that strict discipline that you need to do that may not be, your body or the mind and the other things may not be so strong. So, a person of strict self discipline has to go against the current. He has to swim against the current and say, no, I'm not going to waste all my time in outward things. For a moment, I'll sit down and try to see and explore the inner world. What is the harm in exploring? Because so many saints, so many scriptures are again and again telling you the treasure is within. Why not just think, and why not? We need not accept it, but why not explore? We explore the top of the Himalayas, we go to forests, we find so much joy in exploration outside. Why not explore inside? It's a equally big challenge to explore inside. So, how do you do it? It's not just the self discipline and free from traces of iniquity. Iniquity comes only when you are focusing on the truth of the external things. Then you have likes, dislikes, very strong likes. I like this, I want this, I don't want this. And then all your effort is to spend, according to Patanjali, in trying to acquire what you like. Obviously, nobody acquires money without having a liking for money. If he is really convinced that that is the goal of life, he will go after it. He does not like to be poor. He has a dislike or hatred for poverty. So he says, whatever be the sacrifice I have to do, I will run after wealth and nobody can stop me. And you see how people sacrifice their lives for this. Nothing wrong. Again, the scripture says nothing wrong. But the problem is this iniquity, that we like certain things because nature does not believe in iniquity. The consciousness of the pure self, it is not to be attained by accepting the iniquities, the diversity of nature is there. We have to accept it as a harsh truth. Harsh truth, I'm repeating this word harsh truth because Maya has been defined according to Swamiji. That's the one most wonderful exposition of Maya ever given. Even if you go through Shankaracharya's ideas, so difficult to understand. But if you just read the 3 talks on Maya which Swamiji gave in Piccadilly, in London, he very clearly says Maya is nothing but a statement of facts. It's nothing wrong. We are in this world, and the world is full of iniquities, and we don't want these iniquities. We want only the good and exclude the bad things in our life, which is never going to happen. So Maya is not an illusion. It is a statement of facts which we experience every day. And when things go out of hand, when we try our best not to get the things that we don't like, but we get it. We don't like to be deceased, we don't like to be weak, we don't like to be so many things in life. We like to be powerful, we like to be rich. But when this iniquity is there and you are very much attached, we have raga, as Patanjali says, attachment to things that you like and hatred for things that you don't like. So if these iniquities are there, then your mind is never going to be satisfied at that level, because it will always seek which eludes you. Swamiji says that is Maya. And he gave the wonderful example of the desert where you see a mirage, you run after it thinking it is water. When you go near, the nearer you go, the water seems to vanish because it's just a reflection. It gives you an idea of water. It's not going to quench your thirst. So, freedom from all iniquity, samyak jnanena. Samyak jnana means the right knowledge, is attainable by constant practice of self-control. Brahmacharya here means not just celibacy, but brahmacharya here means whenever the mind goes away from Brahman. Brahma Acharya means moving towards Brahman. Anything that takes you away from Brahman, that is a lack of self-control. That is actually violating the rule of brahmacharya. So brahmacharya should not be taken in the narrow sense of just celibacy. Here, brahmacharya means acharan, that behavior which takes you towards your own self, the source of true joy, or the highest possibility that you can explore. And it is, but how it can be attained? With traces, free from traces of iniquity, the dualities that we encounter, taking things as they come in our life. That is one thing. Constant practice of truthfulness, satyena. Satyena means uh, with a attitude which is ready to give up something if it is temporary or if it is not going to fulfill. That is satya. Satya means holding on to something which is eternal. In that sense, it's not just speaking the truth, but that is one part of satya. But here satya means holding on to truth, holding on to the true self. That is the idea. And through right knowledge and through self control. So then we have that famous verse, Satyamaiva Jayate Nanritam. Truth alone triumphs. The reason why we should do this is truth alone triumphs and not untruth. By truth is spread out the path of Devayana. And seers free from all desires proceed there where there is supreme abode of truth. So this is how in the previous class we saw. But that is what we discussed till now. But now there is a verse from the Ishopanishad which says how do we apply it in our day-to-day life. Now this is the goal. We know these are the things we need and we are proceeding towards the path. But still we are part of this universe. We just can't wish away Maya or wish away the things that we encounter every day. We have to encounter them. We have to pass through them, pass through all those obstacles or whatever they may be. We have to struggle. And taking this world to be real, the Ishopanishad says, Yastu sarvani bhutani atmaiva eva anupashyati sarva bhuteshu cha atmanam tato na vijugupsate. Now, how he does this? When you are in the world, when you have to accept everything that is thrown or that comes in our way, we have to accept. There are many things. There are people, there are things that come in our life, there are situations, there are circumstances, there are diseases, there are so many things that come. So how do we, with this knowledge, a person who is aspiring to explore the higher possibility, how does he deal with it? Because if you remember, Arjuna also asked, when he was given the knowledge of the self in the second chapter, he was curious to know, because everybody wants to come to the practical level. He said, see, that is all theory. That's fine. I know what this Atman is. You have given a big talk. Now tell me how this Sthita Prajna, which you say I should be, how does he talk? How does he walk? How does he live? How does he behave? Sri Krishna has told him the truth of the soul or the spirit. But Arjuna is not bothered about that. He said, now you tell me, because you are asking me to fight this war, or he will ask him to fight the war. So I have to deal with people. I can't live with this high philosophy that who is killing whom and all these big things were told to him, that your soul is immortal. Okay, I accept whatever you said. But suppose I believe or I follow that principle, that theory which you are proposing to me, how do I apply it? And when I apply it, how do I recognize such a person? So he is asking him about the Sthita Prajna. So that is what the Gita, the Ishopanishad, 6th verse says, Yatu Sarvani Bhutani, he who sees all the beings. Now this is very important, because what should be our relationship with the universe that we see around us? Are we, if it is Maya, then should we, like some of the Gyanis who do, just wish away the world? We might try to wish away this world because it is temporary, but it's not going to go. People are going to come back, the situations are going to come back. They are as real as any other thing for other people also. Even for a spiritual person, the world is very, very much real. So then what should be his attitude? Because it's not just enough to know that the self is beyond all these things. It may be beyond all these things, but how do I behave, or how do I live in this world? So he who sees beings in the very self. Now, what does it mean? What really does this idea mean? It's very easy to just read. Yah tu sarvani bhutani atmani eva pashati. He sees everything in the self. Now, what do you really mean then? You see, when you meditate, uh, obviously, most of you who are listening to this have been taught some kind of meditation, some kind of sadhana, some kind of upasana. And when you do that, what do you do? What normally is uh, advised by the guru or by the teacher or by the scripture which is teaching that meditation technique? What normally is done is you are supposed to imagine something within which on which you are supposed to meditate. Now, whether it is a Ishta or a deity, or whether it is pure consciousness, whether it is a flame, everybody, there are different thousands of techniques where an object has to be first decided. Because when you say you are meditating, when you say that you are concentrating, there should be an object. And as I told you before, there are three types of meditation. One is a purely objective meditation, where any object, whether it is a object which is uh, a solid object, a person, or just a something uh, which you can focus upon. It may be a flame, it may be an idea also. So that meditation is known as objective meditation. So most of the people, when you say you meditate or you focus your attention on, they'll say, what object should I focus? Then they'll say, okay, you focus, when you pray to the Father in heaven. Oh no, where is that heaven? How does my Father look like? So then the concept of avatara comes. So you meditate on this. You meditate on a flame, because flame implies light. Though flame is not the consciousness, it is not the light, but it gives you a pretty good idea. It's a point where you can start. So that is objective meditation. So most of us are given as the first step, this kind of selecting an object that you love, that is known as Ishta, somebody whom you revere, somebody, then meditation becomes easy, because you like to think more and more of a person whom you are loving. So if he is the dear, if he is the innermost antaryami or the inner controller, if you are convinced and if you accept somebody who is your inner controller, then you have to love him, because you don't ask anybody to drive your car unless you have faith in that driver. You don't risk that. So Ishta, the very idea of Ishta is to have an object, an objective. You personify that reality in the object on which you are meditating. It may be a person, it may be a deity, it may be just some symbol, it can be anything, but it's still an object, and that object is meditating on that object is known as objective meditation. But there are some people who said, I don't believe, why should I believe that a limited object is infinite? I will rather believe in the subject, which I can the most of the Advaitins, they'll say the subject itself is fine. I just want to search, make an inquiry into what I am. That is subjective meditation. And then there is the Buddhist meditation, which says the subject and object really don't matter. They're all illusions. You just meditate on the process. These thoughts which you are having is always trying to connect. The subject is always trying to connect with an object which is transitory. So there is no God. There's no need for any God or any idea of God, because your problem is your thoughts, and the thoughts are a result of a subject and object trying to connect with each other, and that identification, false identification, causes all the problems. So it is known as the process meditation. So Buddhism mostly, it's known as awareness meditation. All the thoughts that you have is because you connect some subject and object and you become miserable. Then you have desires, then you have to fulfill the desires. So Buddha said, forget the object, forget the subject. That is why some people call it Shunyavada. But anyway, let us not go into that philosophy. These three types of meditation are there. So how it is to be connected with this? Now, when you meditate on, whether you use the subjective meditation or a Buddhist meditation or Advaitic meditation, or even a very simple meditation where you pray to a God and try to imagine that he is in the heart. So now, how do you see that reality as your very as the very self? Because he says, Yastu Sarvani Bhutani Atmani Eva, in the Atman. How? The only way to do this is to consider, when you are doing objective meditation, you don't meditate on a particular person or an incarnation. He, for all practical purposes, he may have a figure, he may have you may use a symbol, but you have to always keep in mind that he is the Ishvara, he is the all-pervading reality, in whom the whole universe exists. Without that, our meditation will not succeed. So when you consider him to be the Antaryami, the inner controller, and you meditate on him, you meditate as if this whole universe is contained in him. Atmani eva pashyati. You see the whole creation, the created world, the prakriti around you, as the manifestation of that reality. It may be a very difficult concept to imagine, but that is how real meditation takes place. And that is what this Upanishad says. Try to see the Atman which you are seeking inside, the pure Sat, Chit and Ananda, because any existence outside of you, any consciousness that you see outside, you see them as conscious beings, you see them as existing, you see them as full of bliss or trying to attain that bliss in whatever way. They may be limited or unlimited. They are part of this, part of the projection of the internal in the external world. So it becomes easy if now and then we remember. For that, first you have to realize him within. That is why they say the regular practice of meditation helps you understand this verse. Otherwise, it's just a sentence. He who sees all beings in the self, what does it mean to me? How can I see? He is a separate person. He has his own ideas. He has his own life. He has his own priorities. How can I see any connection between him and me? I am separate. He is separate. So naturally, I will have nothing to do with him. His life is independent. That is what we have, and that results in all the conflicts. But if we think that in some way his very existence depends on my accepting the divinity within, who is controlling not only me but also the others. That is a very key point in understanding this verse and the key point in all our upasana. Because if we have to really see the Lord within, it's not just imagination or visualization. Say, for example, you meditate on Krishna and you feel that Krishna is within. Okay, what does he do there? Will he simply sit? Will you simply enjoy his beautiful face, whatever face you have imagined? There are so many pictures. You will imagine maybe some of his leelas, because you have read the Bhagavatam and other. Oh, you can allow the mind to wander there, and somehow say that I am watching that divine leela inside my heart. That is the maximum we can do. But we have to go a step further. He is not only doing that leela. There is a beautiful Bengali verse in Chaitanya Charitamrita, which says, even today, Gaur means Gauranga, He is doing his Leela. Only people who have eyes can see it. Not that after his Mahasamadhi he has stopped. He's still doing the Leela. So for when you consider somebody as the Ishta, his divine drama is going on. Outside of us, he's coming in different forms. It takes a lot of time to understand. We think only the Ramakrishna that we meditate on when he was in Dakshineshwar, that chapter is over. Now, what relevance has got? Why do I meditate? But if you see this Chaitanya Charitamrita, the Vaishnavas still believe that the play that you are seeing, the grace of Chaitanya is still there. The grace of Jesus is still there for Christians. If Christ were not to be alive today, then Christianity would just collapse. He is the eternal Christ, he is the eternal Krishna. These personalities whom we worship as incarnations, they are eternal realities. As long as humankind is there, if they have manifested that reality in their own lives, then they don't pass away after they leave the physical body. Otherwise, all the incarnations would have been forgotten long ago. So many people come in our lives, they come and they die. How many do we remember? Maybe we put a photograph, few years we may cry, few years we may remember them, publish a book, something, but then they are forgotten. They become part of history. Even the big kings who have created big empires. But why these people still persist? Because they are part of our inner consciousness, the Ishvara. So it's only if a prophet or a avatar has realized that Ishvara hood, the Ishvara hood or the all pervasive nature of reality, if they have realized or if it has become tangible in their life, if they have been convinced that they are the spirit, then they are one with our spirit, they are one with other spirit, and in that case, in that with that idea only you can connect. So he sees his all the beings around you as his very self. And who is that self? The Ishta on whom you are meditating. And also the self in all beings. He is averse to none because of that experience. Then he can't be averse to anybody. Because if he is the innermost controller of me, and being Ishvara is the innermost controller of everybody. So whoever he, that's why when Swami Vivekananda was once told, it appears to be a very simple statement. Especially when he was in London, Swami Vivekananda was told by some of his well-wishers. They were all older than him. Some of them were from America, Josephine, because they had a they believed that they knew human nature. So he said, Swami, you should be careful. You should not mix with this. You should not. You should invite only such people. These are the real people. These are not the real people. So Swamiji immediately got upset. He said, I can't do that. Whoever the Lord throws in my path, I mm, accept them. I don't go on searching for people because my judgment, I know the Lord will send the right kind of people to the right kind of person. I don't want to take the position of a God and decide and pass judgment over all people. That is why Jesus said, judge not that ye be not judged. So, uh, that idea that it is the inner controller, if we really sincerely believe in that, and that is what we are supposed to sincerely believe, then this verse has meaning. So we also see the same thing, samam sarveshu bhuteshu tishtantam parameshwaram. That is the another verse which says, with a pure mind one should observe in all beings as in oneself, that me, only me. Me means here Krishna is meaning that same Krishna which you see in yourself, you are trying to see in yourself, you have to try to see in other beings. Who am both inside and outside, antarbahischa. So only such a person, I am all pervasive. So this idea of all pervasiveness is very essential when you try to meditate or try to explore the possibility of the real self identity or the Vijnanamaya Kosha, that is the only way you can transcend that, because your life begins with that. It begins with imagination. We are still, you have to remember, if we had really transcended our personality, then we would have even transcended the Anandamaya Kosha and finally be established in the self as Sri Krishna was. But we, like Arjuna, is telling him, you follow these steps, the Ishopanishad or the Gita, and then we have one more verse uh, from some other Upanishad, which says how this idea of the Antaryami, of the all pervading reality, can be made practical in our life. So this luminous self, the second major principle which we conclude this chapter will conclude by this: the luminous self, which governs the whole psychophysical system, not just mine, yours, the animals, the plants, the inanimate objects, everything. It's by its radiance or consciousness. So consciousness is primary. So the nature of reality is Satchidananda. If it is limited, then it is not Sat. If it is not full of radiance, it is not Chit. And if it is not full of joy, then it is not Ananda. So always, whatever be our concept of God, that is what David Bentley Hart, in his famous book, the famous theologian, I think he was in Yale University, he tried to combine all the concepts of God or reality in different religions, and he came to the conclusion that the best definition, of course, we can't define God, but if at all we have to define it, the nearest definition, the common definition which all religions give, without quoting any Upanishad, he says that I have come to the conclusion that it is existence, pure consciousness, and pure bliss. This is what every religion is seeking. Every concept of God, directly or indirectly, can be described in this way according to him, because he made a comparative study of all the theologies. So ultimately, this truth, this highest possibility of trying to see that divinity within, should be our goal. And if that is acquired in this life, if we acquire that, that would be the highest possibility. Then we can say we have explored all the possibilities. We have not only reached the acme of our physical, pranic, mental, buddhi, that is vijnana, and also the Anandamaya Kosha. We have excelled in that, and as a result of that, we have uh, developed a personality in which holiness holiness or spirituality has grown, evolved, and ultimately, when the evolution is total and complete, we have identified ourselves with people or with incarnations or with prophets who have realized or who have experienced this highest reality in themselves. And that is the reason why we come to them again and again, because they are the past masters. We have no other way, the only proof. That is why Shankaracharya says, by logic you cannot prove. No matter how much you try to rationalize these spiritual truths, you'll go round and round. There will be somebody who can convince you that all you think is false. So what is the pramana? What is the pramana? He says Shastra pramana, the experiences of these realized people. So at some stage or the other, we have to believe that it is not for nothing that these great prophets are eternally relevant in our life. Not only in one civilization, but in all civilizations have been inspired. So they are the people who show us the path, show us the goal, and they have explored the highest possibility. All we have to do is follow their footsteps and reach the goal. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Do you have time for questions? We have a few minutes. If you can ask, if you would like to ask any questions, you can type it or you can ask. There are quite a few people here. We are in Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan, as you all know. and some of them have tried to come and attend it in person. So as I had announced earlier, most of the classes now will be both online and offline till we can completely, maybe I don't know whether we can dispense with this online class, because many people, perhaps those who can't travel, for them it's a good idea to watch it later also. Anyway, but we will be starting these sessions, preferably the first session of Japa Yagna, where you can meditate. Normally, we expect initiated devotees to come, because for others, maybe we cannot give a technique. We cannot possibly tell them the technique that is normally the meditation technique that is normally used in the Ramakrishna order, because then we'll have to go explain the whole background. So it becomes easy if the people who have already been initiated into this meditation technique by any guru, anyone in the Ramakrishna order, if they sit, if they continue to stay after the main puja will be for all, 12:30 after prasad, maybe 2:30 after some rest, they can continue to stay. Most probably it will be 25th. I'm not, I'll just find out, or maybe it can be any other weekend. But it will be on a weekend so that people can come in the afternoon for at least 2 hours. But there will be exclusively meditation sessions. So some kind of self-discipline will be required, and people can perform the sadhana according to the instructions they have received from their own guru. But some general things may be discussed before the meditation. But it will be a very quiet session. So those who wish to attend, maybe we'll announce it soon, along with the program, which is on 25th, that is Sri Ramakrishna's birthday, which is actually falling on Tuesday, but we are celebrating on 25th Saturday. Yeah, there are no questions. Yeah.
I just need some clarification, Swamiji. I struggle with this because I find it quite paradoxical. I'm going to try and ask it. In the Annamaya Kosha, the information comes in from the five senses.
Yeah.
However, when we talk about higher sheaths like the mind or the intellect, the man or the buddhi, how can one even grasp that? Because even if I'm listening right now, the information is coming through my ears and I'm processing on a physical level. There's absolutely no way the how
higher questions can be accessed. That's what you think.
Yeah.
So one interesting question Tushar has asked here is that it is very easy to understand how the Annamaya Kosha, Pranamaya Kosha, and even the Manomaya Kosha works, because he says that we get a lot of inputs from through our sense organs. We see something, we react to it. It's very easy to understand how we act and how we react. Of course, many people don't even know that, because if they knew how to react, then there would not be any trouble at all in the whole in our behavior with others. The problem is that because we don't know how to react, so it would be wrong to say, but at least we can perceive it. What your question is that we know where we are wrong, because we see these events or these happenings on a day-to-day basis. Every moment you are encountering this, but how do we know? His question was the other two levels, that is the Vijnanamaya Kosha and the Anandamaya Kosha, which are the other two layers, higher layers. So, is there a way? I think that is your question.
Yeah.
How do we know that where the input is coming from, and what are we actually doing when we are at that level? It's a very good question, because having been used to the lower three koshas, where most of us, that's why I told you right in the beginning, that we are happy if we can succeed in this. Even the most successful person in this world, whom you consider to be successful, can very easily handle these three koshas. That is why he is successful. He has a balanced mind, he has a balanced control over his body, he knows what he is doing, he has a goal, and to achieve that goal, whatever is necessary, he is ready to sacrifice, he is ready to keep his body fit. Otherwise, he will not succeed even in the lower three levels. So, I'm not saying, but because it is tangible, that doesn't mean the other two levels are not there. We can perceive it, for example, when you pursue spirituality, it may be a very small minority. Many people would not be interested unless they come across some books or some person who tells them there is a higher possibility. But you can find out there is a very clear indication when a person lives in that Vijnanamay Kosha. As you said, it can be seen by others, it can be seen by oneself. When we are there, a certain kind of discrimination comes, wisdom comes in our life. We try to question at least that what the things that we are doing, is it enough? Is it enough to give us fulfillment? The first step is that the person starts questioning. If the question doesn't come, spiritual life doesn't begin. If Nachiketa was happy with what his father had told him, and he would have done that ritual and he would have thought that he will go to heaven. That's what his father told him. A obedient son would perhaps do that. But then the very fact that he questions, that means he is exploring his buddhi. Buddhi means, buddhi, the level of buddhi is nothing complicated. We are encountering it every day. Only thing, we don't make use of it. The problem is all of us have the capacity to develop our buddhi, but once we develop it, if we start using it, then you know it is tangible. It is as real as seeing objects. For a non-spiritual person, he may think this fellow is, the person who is doing this is simply wasting his time, because his priorities are to develop his mind. He said he is wasting his time. He could use it for developing his skill sets, earning money, enjoying his life, and all those things. But if a person really, he will not bother what others think. He will just focus on trying to know, trying to ascertain that whatever he is aspiring for, will it give him ultimate happiness or not? That questioning begins. The first sign that your Vijnanamaya Kosha is active, just like your mind becomes active. Perhaps for an animal, even the mind is not active. It has developed certain instinctive skills, it is happy with that. If it can catch something to eat every day, the prey, it will be happy. It doesn't need to develop the mental level. But if after we are endowed with a discrimination, we are the only people who put questions. How much of this world can make us happy, can make us, give us total fulfillment? The very fact that you question, that means your Vijnanamaya Kosha is active. And as I said, if you develop it right from childhood, then it becomes as casual or as normal as you are using your mind. Because he right from childhood, Nachiketa was just 14 years old. He was not a mature person having seen the whole life. But since he was told, and he had Shraddha in what the scriptures say, he thought, if there is a thing as buddhi, if there is a thing as soul, spirit, then these people are not lying. My father has taught me. So once you are exposed and to these great ideas and you follow it, you are already using your buddhi. You are already seeking a higher joy. Why do you come to this class? Because it is giving certain joy. Otherwise, why will you take so much pain and come and attend this class here? Isn't it? If it had not given you any joy, nobody is a fool to come and just enjoy some pain. Nobody will come for that. They want to get some, they feel that I'm getting a higher joy. I could have easily gone to a party and enjoyed myself. But I'm coming all the way with the hope. You may or may not get it, but at least you have hoped. So that means your Vijnanamaya Kosha and the Anandamaya Kosha is already active. The very fact that you are attempting or exploring the possibility itself shows that it has been activated. You may not find it as tangible as you see. You know that there is a sweet, you know how you will enjoy if you eat. These are day to day occurrences, so we know all those things and we think that is normal. But if for people who thirst after spirituality, for them discrimination is as important as developing the mind, developing the prana, developing the body. Not that they are careless about their health, but for them there are certain things which they need to do. So it may find expression like poems, reading poems, singing some music, devotional music. They don't know why, but they somehow find joy in that. So that is also a sign of that your Vijnanamay Kosha has been activated. So I think that answers your question. Huh? You may not, it may not be as clear as you perceive the sense objects, because they are very tangible and right from childhood you are doing that. So but these things you come to know when you grow up, or maybe you would have known it since childhood if somebody had told you, consciously or unconsciously, if somebody had given these instructions right from childhood, then you would have been brought up with that. You would have thought, oh, meditation is normal. You would not have felt the need after growing up. When you are disillusioned with other things, you would not have turned to meditation. You would have done it. Oh, is it? So when Swamiji was very young, he used to see some kind of light. So when Thakur asked him, he said, do not other people see that? I thought every child sees that light. Because he was in a state of meditation even while when he was born. So it was every day before he went to sleep, he could see a light dissolve and he is dissolving, because that state he had acquired. For him it was very natural. And when Sri Ramakrishna asked him, do you see a light when you go to sleep between your brows? He said, do the other people, do they not see that? I mean, he thought everybody sees that. So it was natural for him. So for yes,
Sorry. So that awareness of the buddhi, of Vijnanamaya Kosha,
yes.
is it the intellect or the buddhi itself that is aware of it? Or is it something more, so the body or the mind becomes aware of it? Or what becomes aware of the
No, the whole personality becomes aware of it. It's not that buddhi is disassociated. It's still part of the body. It's part of your psychophysical organism. You see, you can't say I'm feeling the body now, I'm not feeling the mind. It's all simultaneous, isn't it? The joy that you feel, even the Anandamaya Kosha, you are feeling it every moment. Only thing is you are not paying attention. They say in deep sleep, you get joy if you get a very good sleep. Why? Because you are more in the Anandamaya Kosha. You are already experiencing it. But it's temporary, because when you wake up again, all the problems come. Or when you dream, all the problems come. So these things are there, but only we don't pay attention to them.
Oh, so it's closer to us than we think.
Yeah, it's very close. I mean, it is every day we experience that. Not any one of the five koshas are always, they are hidden. They may be hidden. They may not be given importance. Our attention is not on them. That is why our buddhi is not developed. So that is why the Gayatri mantra is Dhiyo Yona Prachodayata. Let my intellect be awakened. So the child is told every day he has to repeat it. He may do it as a ritual, but if he does it with meaning, that means he knows there is some buddhi which makes me take the right decision, or the right spiritual attitude in life comes. Yeah. Okay, so we'll take your leave. There are no more questions, so I'll take your leave now. We'll have to leave this hall now. Yeah. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.